Hello, and welcome to Oh, for the Love of Art, where, well, do you like art? Do you like talking about art? Join us. We'd love to have you. All right, so, ladies and gentlemen, this is Sam Bishop. I am the Sam Bishop of Sam Bishop Works, in case you're wondering. This is the episode where I'm going to be interviewed, so you get to know me a little bit and what I'm about and my art. The purpose of this podcast is to just have fun talking about art. I enjoy talking about art. I enjoy a lot of different mediums. So I am going to be interviewing lots of different people and lots of different mediums, and we're just going to have fun diving in, seeing where we come from, where we're going, what we enjoy right now, what inspires us, and hopefully giving some encouragement to those out there that are doing the same. So today I'm going to have someone else interview me. This is Evan. He is a friend of mine here at church. He actually leads the worship team, and he's been nice enough to be willing to interview me. So, hey, Evan.
Hey, Sam. Glad to be here. Can't wait to get into it.
Yes, sir. So I'm just going to let him take it away, and we'll see where this fun little engine goes.
Let's do it. Well, Sam, tell us about yourself, specifically as an artist. What is your art form? Do you have multiple? Do you have a preferred? Who is Sam Bishop Works?
Sam Bishop is a deep well. No, I don't know if I'm that deep. I guess I'm middle-aged. Gosh, am I middle-aged? Is that what's considered middle-aged now? I feel like I'm 15 still, but I'm a middle-aged man, I suppose. Young family. I have been an artist, I guess, all my life, really. Different ways. Right now, though, my thing is I like to paint. I'm an oil painter, mainly just by default. That's all I've done. That's all I've ever done, really. I would love to get into watercolors. Of course, I draw, too, but paint-wise, oils has been my gig. But I've dabbled in a lot of different art. I don't know about you, but, Evan here's an artist as well. And I don't know about you, Evan, but I feel like all of us artists, we kind of tend to be interested in a lot of different things. I'm interested in a lot of everything now, but throughout the course of my life, I've been, drawing, painting. I took piano for 10 years. Music is I feel like a big part of my life, even though it's not necessarily. It's not like I practice it a lot, but it has been a big part of my life. And I think it continues to speak to my art and what I do now, too. But yeah.
Do you put your art in a genre? Do you still life, portrait? What do you do?
Sure. I would say it's more impressionist, if anything. I don't really know what people consider portraiture. Like, of course, I know what a portrait is. We all know it's a picture of someone. But I tend to like landscapes, or landscapes of sorts. But I always like to have a human element. Like, there's usually a human in it. And it's interesting. I haven't really explored that as to why yet. I think that to me, it just helps the viewer connect with what's going on in the painting more for some reason. Because don't get me wrong, landscapes are amazingly beautiful. But if you see a human in it, I think it usually is just that much more interesting. It's funny, I've thought about this a lot. Like, what are my paintings about? Usually, I would like to think, because I love film and movies and TV and story, that I would like to think that my paintings kind of, in a way, are a snapshot or a still frame in a movie or something where, like, it evokes a certain amount of peace, I think, but it's also maybe a little bit of what's really going on here? Like, it looks like it could be in the middle of a film and you're seeing just a still frame. Lately, I just launched an online store with some of my paintings printed onto accessories and, like cheaper small prints. And when I was setting up the store, I had to come up with descriptions, and I let AI do it, at least at first, and then I tweaked it. And I noticed that a theme that just kept on coming up was the word quiet. And I was like, I never really looked at it like that. I had always thought about it as peace, but like my scenes, to me, are usually evocative of a certain amount of peace. I think because I haven't always had that. And I find a struggle with that. I think we all do, really. But I have OCD, which is a form of anxiety. Have had that since I was little. And day to day, it affects me a lot. And so I feel like there's a lot of this anxious energy underneath the surface. And so when I paint, because I paint what I like, of course, like I paint scenes that I enjoy, and I think those are scenes of quiet and solitude and peace. Maybe not necessarily solitude, but peace. I would say nostalgia I enjoy too. I don't know if my scenes necessarily evoke nostalgia that much, but I know that's what I'm drawn to. So yeah, so that's what I hope really that people see. But ultimately, I want people to see and get out of my paintings what they see. That's why I'm horrible at naming my paintings and why I just make them generic. I'm like, I put down literally what's there, like the man in the cigar shop or the boy in the field, because I don't want to come up with a name like, oh, the angst of childhood or so. I don't know what, because I don't want to speak to anybody's interpretation of what's on the canvas, because I don't think it's better that way. I think like a lot of art, music, art, visual art, it's almost better if it's left up open to interpretation. That's what's beautiful about art, I think, is that it's no right or wrong per se, and yet it still speaks to each other. I think that's a beautiful thing about art, is that it's something that a lot of people I think have a hard time with art. If you're not an artist yourself, if you're more of a type A and whatnot. I was talking to my niece, who is a manager, like pretty high up, like with an HR in a big major corporation, and she works in a very, world of absolutes, right or wrong. This is we have certain procedures and this and this and this. And then anyway, she asked me once. She was like, "Why? How do you know when a painting's finished?" And I said, "You don't. Like, there's no way to really. There's not a well. Once you reach step 5, you're done. It's just whenever the painter feels like they're done, or when they're done with the material. And in fact, I think a lot of artists would say that you're never done. Really, you just stop. At least for me, you just kind of stop. Yeah, you're like, it's time for me to stop. I could keep going." But I think that's also the beauty too, is it's almost more of a living and breathing thing then. Yeah.
No, I totally see the connection of what you just said, a living and breathing organism. It's, humans are hard to define and don't fit in boxes. And so there's art, and which art is just an outpouring of the human spirit. So yeah, it makes sense that those things resemble each other in that way.
Yeah.
I'm curious because I am not an artist in the fine arts world. Like you said, the man in the cigar shop, like as a name of your painting, and that, like it. Are your paintings things you've seen and just want to replicate, or are they imaginations?
Oh gosh, I wish. No, they're all things that 99.9% are things that I've seen. It's been rare that I've been able to, so here's the thing. I'm not that good. No, I don't know if you can ever say that an artist is good or bad necessarily, but I do not have the ability to just pull something out of my head and put it on the canvas yet. Hopefully one day. No, I either have to look at real life or at a source material, usually photographs. There is a case like in the Wolfman painting that I have, where that was obviously, I did not see a Wolfman and take a picture, right. But that was in my painting class where I had an idea of what I wanted, and I just found source material and I photoshopped that picture of myself, because I couldn't really find a source material of exactly what I wanted. So I just took off my shirt in the studio actually and just took a picture and then photoshopped all that together. That's rare where I do something like that. It's usually a photograph that I've taken or someone else has. And that's kind of evolving too. I would like to learn and evolve with that. Maybe marry some from my imagination and some source material too. I have a lot of ideas for paintings, for children's books, for illustrations in my mind that are kind of on the back burner. But
Do you have a folder of photos of ideas, or do you get an idea and then get the photos or the inspiration for it? Like, what's the process, I suppose?
So yeah, it's usually I see it, and I'm constantly on Instagram. When I see things, I save it,
Mm-hmm.
or or I take a screenshot and I save it. Now I've gotten to the point where I'm very much into, hey, I don't want to infringe on copyright. I don't want to take someone else's stuff, even though I'm making it into a painting. And I think it could be argued that I'm not, but I tend to paint directly from a picture. It's not like I take just like a little element in the picture, then I just paint that. I usually, when I do something like that, I'm painting the whole scene.
Okay.
So I like to go and I like to ask the person who took the photograph if it's okay, first of all. And I try to be as upfront, hey, I really like this photograph. I was wanting to paint it and see if you would be okay with me doing that, because I usually sell my paintings and or prints. So I just like to ask them first. But I'm getting into the realm, because I think a lot of people could argue that's cheating, or it's like, well, it's not really your concept then, and blah, 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 blah. I don't really necessarily care about that, but I think I would like to get into doing my own thing, like either taking photographs myself, which I do when I see things just in life too. A lot of the times I try to, if I have that's why iPhones and phones are so amazing, is because you can just whip out your camera and have a great camera right there. Everyone has cameras on their phone now, and you can see this beautiful sunset and everyone's whipping out their phones, or they see something cool, so everyone whips out their phones, or you're on like a picturesque, you're like a Pikes Peak and you're taking out your phones and you're taking pictures. Everyone does that, but a lot of times I feel like we do that, and then later on we look at the photo and we're like, it didn't quite capture that. Like, you had to be there. It's it's hard to explain why, but the reason being is that, and that is hard. That's hard because our minds, when we see something with our eyes, at least for me, I'm like, say for instance, right now I'm looking at like a TV stand here, and the light from the window is hitting it in just a certain way, and it's hitting the door frame that is old and a little bit worn, but it's painted well, and I don't know, there's just this, like, I can see a somewhat romantic view of the corner of this TV stand. But the key is, I think, for photographers, for visual artists, is how do you get the viewer to see and feel what you're seeing and feeling? Because we can just take a picture of the corner of that TV stand and someone would probably be like, what the hell is that?
Mm-hmm.
How do you get what you feel from what you're seeing to your audience?
Do you think, or would you say that is a purpose or the purpose of art in general, or maybe of your art? That I love the whole corner of the TV cabinet thing. I'm sitting here looking at it as well. Like, you see some beauty there, and then but you may take a photo or paint, and then people see and think, what the heck is this? Do you, I guess back to my first question, would you say that's the role of an artist, or that's what art is helping other people see the beauty that you see? Or do you think about that in your art consciously, subconsciously? Not at all. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I was just trying to think if I should give that blanket statement or not. I mean, I'm sure there's instances where that may not be the case, where you can basically just give people a whole scene and go crazy. Yes, I think that is a huge part of art, is that, yes, that is a huge part of our job, is to help other people feel. I heard a quick snippet from Ethan Hawke recently, gosh, I'm going to butcher this, but he was saying, nobody thinks or talks like a poet normally in real life. None of us read poetry or feel a need for it the majority of our lives. But when you lose someone dies, you have your heart broken, someone leaves you, all of a sudden you need that art. That art speaks to your soul. You could also look at it as music, and certain songs just hit differently at different times in our lives, and they just speak to our hearts. And art is, he was talking about, so necessary at that of our lives. I guess that's kind of why I'm drawn to art too. I'm a pretty emotional and sensitive guy, and like looking at that corner of the TV stand, like I see there's a piece of cobweb or dust or something there that's hooked onto the bottom there, and that could be deemed as ugly or not wanted, but I see it as like, so if I were to get down on my knees, a shot from like an angle and have that dust bunny in the foreground, and then maybe the shadow going off and this nice yellow autumn or wintry light coming through that's kind of yellowish. To me, to my little emotional self, that dust bunny on the side of a TV stand is emotional. And I think it harkens back to, it has a certain bit of nostalgia to me, where like, maybe it's even comes from my childhood, where like, I don't know about you, but I feel like when I was a child, I was on the floor a lot.
Oh yeah.
And you go and you look at like the underside of a coffee table a lot when you're a kid, or you see something like that, like a dust bunny on the underside.
Yeah.
So that to me kind of evokes maybe that same type of nostalgia, where you feel so comfortable at home and like stuff that you're just on the floor, just staring at this corner of a coffee table. That's the beauty of art. And there's elements like the light coming through the windows is objectively like a nice light. Like if you study film and photography and stuff, like the afternoon light and the winter and autumn light, the sun is at a certain place so that it creates these shadows that are very evocative of emotion and whatnot. So there are certain things like that that are pretty objective, but yeah, I think emotion is such a huge key part of art. I get very emotional at times when I'm at the easel, when I'm at the canvas, for different reasons. Who knows? I got my own problems. I have OCD and ADD, and I struggle with depression some as well. And so sometimes when I'm at the canvas, I mean, this kind of delves into some other questions that I wanted to cover, but I struggled for a long time growing up, my whole life really, with the question, what am I going to do with my life? Basically, what am I good at? Because I grew up with the thought, that there is something that God has given in us, has placed in us, that we are good at, that we can do, that if we can just find a way to make money doing that, then we'll be happy, was kind of the basic thought.
Mm-hmm.
And now at 41 years old, I know that that's a very generalized way of looking at it. And it's not that I don't necessarily think it's true, but there's a lot more to it, like most things in life. There's a lot of gray areas within that. I've always thought there's got to be something out there that I'm going to be great at, that I want people to like me for, that people are going to like it, and I'm going to say, oh, Sam, you're so great. And I mean, it's selfish and it's kind of prideful, but that's always kind of been my thought, was that like someday I'm going to find that thing. And so there's been things that I've been good at, but when I found painting and that I had a knack for it and that I enjoyed doing it so much and that people thought I was good, I was like, this is it. This is my thing. I'm not able to practice it nearly as much as I would like. I would love for it to be a full-time gig, but it's not at the moment. So anyway, so when I do get to the easel, and it's just such a thing that God has given me that I like, I don't know, it's so emotional and beautiful for me at times. And it's weird. I sometimes in those moments, I like to touch the canvas, physically just touch it, because I don't know why. There's something about grounding yourself with physical things, especially in the digital age that we live in too, I think. And, so much of our experiences really are on the digital scale or in our minds, and so to be able to be there and just like physically touch this thing that God has given me the ability to have this interaction with and to mold and to work on, and for beautiful things to come out of it. Not that I'm trying to toot my own horn, but like good things to come from it. Yeah. So it's an emotional experience for me, as well as I hope to evoke emotions with it, with the subject matter. even I think especially for some artists, they can even just look at the brush strokes and stuff, and that can evoke emotion too and whatnot. But
You mentioned, I love the bit about the, poets don't talk as poets but when they write their things, it connects with us because it connects with our hearts. And I guess trying to just get deeper into the heart of why you do art. Like you said earlier that, OCD and your kind of inner state plays a lot into your art, and even in the the AI descriptions of your art at this theme of quiet game, where you maybe would say peace, and definitely they're clearly related. Do you think that is a conscious through line? Like, do you think that, or would you say, I guess, that you paint to help calm down or to experience that? You're trying to evoke that consciously for the viewer as well, or is it not that overt and it just comes out because it's part of you? I guess I love that theme, but would you place that as a theme of your art as the artist?
like, do I do it consciously?
Yeah.
Or do I? Yeah. No. Well, not really. Or should I say, I don't do it for that reason. Life is hard at times, and we have so many things we have to do, and so many, especially if you have kids and other things and responsibilities. But because I think God has given me painting, art, when I do practice it, I like to think of it as it's kind of me time. It's something that I enjoy, and I try to unplug. First, the subject matter, like a lot of times, especially when painting sessions are kind of few and far between, and I need to start a new painting. Sometimes that's the hardest part, is just starting, is trying to find out what am I going to paint? Because I know I want to paint, but I'll be like, oh, shoot, what am I going to actually? So I'll be scrolling through my phone, through photos I've taken or other people have, and I'm trying to find something that catches my eye. And when I find something, then bam. And in fact, one of my most popular paintings has been something that I guess I was still in college. My wife and I we got married, and then we went to college, and we were living in married student family housing at NMSU. And I'm pretty sure we had our 3 dachshunds. I was taking them for a walk one night, probably around them. And I was taking them on a walk. And of course, in my head, because I'm in my head all the at that time. But as I said, my whole life, I've been like, what am I doing with my life? What am I supposed to be doing? That time I was going to school for graphic design, but I had found painting and drawing along the way. And this was actually, I think, this was after I finished my one and only painting class. And I was doing something else. I think it was in my last semester. Anyway, so there were a lot of thoughts going through my head, like, I really love painting. I probably should be trying to paint more and get better and practice. And I should be, doing this more. This is probably something that all of us go through. It's like, oh, I should be practicing and I should be doing this. I should be at the E's more. I don't know about you guys, but I'm one of those people that shoulds myself to death my whole life. And all day, every day, I feel like almost. Anyway, so I was in that headspace. I was driving myself nuts. So I was getting upset. I was walking my dogs and just getting mad. Like, screw it. And I was like, come on, dogs. I kind of like made my little dachshunds rush home. And I had a drink or more and got to the easel, and I was just like, I have to find something. So I took this Town and Country magazine that I had and I flipped through it. I'm just going to find something and just paint. I don't care what it is, And my eyes landed on this spread photograph of this young woman in like a dancer's costume outfit, ballerina type thing, sitting on the floor in a very dancer type pose where she's just like kind of slouched, just sitting there with just a plain kind of gray black backdrop. And I was like, yeah, okay, bam. And I drew that up. I started painting, listening to music, blasting. I think I was listening to Pink and Eminem and I don't know what, just kind of raging a little bit and just kept trying to get out of my head. Gosh, I mean, getting out of my head is one of the biggest things I think for artists in general, but I know for me. And by the end of the night, I don't really know. I didn't time myself, but I want to say it was only a couple hours, maybe 2 or 3 hours that I spent on that. And that has been one of my most successful, popular paintings.
That's true.
God gave me at that point in my life. Get out of your head.
Yeah, to me, that story sounds like a moment of clarity that you.
Somewhat. I've been looking for that moment of clarity my whole life.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, again, kind of going along with the whole, I thought I was going to find something that I could do with my life, and it would be this aha moment. Like in every movie and every film, there's like a point 2/3 to 3/4 of the way in where there's the climax of the action, where there's some aha thing. And the person finally gets it, whether it's a conversation, whether it's they're running to meet someone at the Brooklyn Bridge or whatever. And all of a sudden things get clear. And then you have the resolution and it kind of goes down and life's great. So I always kind of thought that's going to happen at some point. And it's just, that's not necessarily real life. You do have moments of clarity, I think. And you do have moments there where God gives you certain things. But yeah, I've kind of been hoping that would happen more and more. With mental illness too, like you hope and you pray for that day where like all of a sudden it clicks in your mind and all of a sudden you can turn that off. But it's not usually what happens. It's a day-to-day struggle and battle, and that's okay too. That has its own type of beauty, I think, too. Some might even argue that I don't know if we would be as good of an artist if we didn't have some of these things. I don't know if you can compare it to scripture, but as Paul said, he always had this thorn in his side that he prayed that God would take away from him. But, and it's almost that kind of a thing too. I think with artists, a lot of them did have mental illness or struggle with addictions. And I think, I don't know, I'm not saying that they needed to have that in order to create such great art necessarily. But I think it was just it was an offshoot. It was a byproduct of the emotion. I think a lot of us artists are pretty emotional and more in tune with our emotions maybe than maybe others, I want to say. Maybe not, but.
You mentioned God and you just quoted scripture. How does art play into your spirituality? Is art spiritual? And from your point of view, what do you think about that?
Artists are very emotional, I think, and that's what makes good when you tap into that emotion, because that's what people want when they look at your art or listen to your art. They're there to feel. Answer your question. I believe in God. Let's start there. I believe in God. I believe in the God of the Bible. There's one God, and he loves us so incredibly deeply. And I like to think of it as, close your eyes to anyone out there and think of the time in your life when you felt the most comfort, when you felt the most love, when you felt the most taken care of, feeling safe, enjoying myself, and feeling like that was okay to enjoy myself. And so I say to everyone out there, think of the time in your life when you felt the most loved, cared for, safe, or whatever, loved, and know that God gave you, that God meets me at that level, at my deepest need, where I felt like in that moment that it was okay for me to enjoy myself. I should myself a lot in my life. And I think we all do a lot, where we think, oh, I should be doing this. I could be doing that better. Am I making enough money? Am I in the right job? Should I be trying this more? Should I be a better spouse? Should I be a better father? Should I be whatever? But to just feel that, no, you are okay. Exactly the way you are. Yeah, you may not be not be quite on the right track per se, but the person that you are right now is fine. God will meet you where you are and love you the way you are. There is nothing we can do to make him love us more or love us less. I'm not trying to make this into a sermon, but this is just a part of me and who I am. And I think that our core beliefs and system that comes out in our art too. So anyway, so that is one of the biggest emotions that I can feel, I think, is that acceptance from Christ, from God. And we should be doing this. And all that might be true. Like there are disciplines that can help, and there's things on this, but I want people to connect with Jesus and Why do we care? Do we really believe that he's there? The reason why I believe in Jesus, why I give a crap about what he says, because I feel him in the room right now. And I feel that peace that only he can give me. He touches my spirit, and I know that's going to sound crazy and stupid to people that don't believe, but the God of the universe has touched my soul, and I don't think I can ever be the same. My art, that's my basis, and I think that my art, whether I mean to or not, has that as an underlying, almost like current. That's why I can have those scenes of quiet. That's why I can have those scenes of peace. And to me, I always have hope. Even though I have, how do I feel most of my days? I feel like shit. I am, as I said, I'm shooting myself to death. I'm OCD. I'm anxiety. I'm probably not speaking to my kids exactly right. And then their very next instance, I'm thinking about that. I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have said it like that. I shouldn't have, blah, blah, blah. But yet, at the same time, no. I know I'm okay, and because I know I've been accepted by the God of the universe, and that's a crazy thing, really, too. It's not because you yourself are just, you know what I'm saying? You yourself. It's not that you yourself are okay in and of yourself. It's because the God of the universe loves us. That's the only reason why we're okay. And that's not to say that we're all just a bunch of ugly, stupid humans. No, I think there's a certain part of just humanity at its basis that still reflects that beauty that God originally created us to be. And that's why you can have artwork that's created by non-Christians that still reflects the beauty of Christ. We're all human. We all have that basis of a beauty that God has imbued in us and in the world around us. And that's beautiful. That's a beautiful thing. That's redeemable. That's a wonderful thing. So let's circle back here to your question. Do I consciously speak that into my art? No, I don't think so. I think it's really my therapy. It's really just me just wanting to paint. It's so easy to think, oh, I gotta get back to the easel. I have to pump out. I have to try to make goals. It is good to make goals, but it's so easy to fall into that. Oh, I need to make these goals. If I need to get 5 original paintings out by the end of the year so that I can give them to the gallery or I can put them online or blah, blah, blah. I need to make reels for Instagram because I need to get myself out there. I need to get more followers. But when I paint, I try to do it just for me, and yeah, I'm not saying that I do it for this reason, but you connect with God. I think it is a spiritual thing. I think that he uses it or can use it to speak to us. And because I come from that basis, I think, from that background, I think that's for any artist too. Every artist is coming at their work, at their medium from a certain standpoint, from certain experiences that they've grown up with or that they come from. And that's what gives them that personality in their work. That's what makes their work their work. And that's just going to come out. That's what's going to connect with someone. But it's not necessarily that I think, well, I need to have 5 paintings where people feel joy, or 2 with joy and 1 with peace.
Right.
Or, you know what I'm saying?
What would be, I guess, before I ask a question, I hear when you paint, you're trying to be yourself. You're giving space to just be maybe the fullest expression of yourself in that moment, and the art is what comes out of that. And it's spiritual because you're spiritual. It's peaceful because you're peaceful. It is self-expression. At least that's what I hear in your art. Maybe even self-expression and safety, where there's not as much of the should in this. Would you give that advice to other artists, like maybe especially artists starting out, or what advice would you give to other creatives who absolutely maybe had some of the inner critics, inner monologues? Yeah, just general advice.
Yeah, so my theme is kind of peace. It's not that I go looking for a scene of peace or a painting or a photo of peace necessarily. I'm just seeing things that I enjoy And I guess I don't overanalyze it usually, like, why do I like this piece? I just like it, so I paint it. But usually it is because it evokes peace, and that's what I'm looking for in my own life. But to answer your question, yeah, so that's another thing. Most of my marketing is just through Instagram, especially when I was younger. Again, kind of playing into the whole, someday I'm going to find that thing. Someday I'm going to reach this point and it's going to click. I would be looking to people that were successful, people that I kind of idolized in a way, and be like, okay, I should be like them. Do not fall into that trap, I would say, of another issue that we all have is that I feel like most of us are looking for a 5-step plan. We're looking for the how-to book of how do I get to be that artist that I want to be? What steps do I take? There are to a certain point, like, sure, go out and learn the basics of painting and drawing because you need that as your basic. I think you reach a certain point where don't try to be anyone else. Don't spend hours online trying to find out what type of art should I do. I think it would be more beneficial for you to spend those hours getting into your medium and just figuring out who are you in this medium. What do you have to say? Do not should yourself. Don't think about, is what I have to say, are other people out there saying it? Don't overthink it. Just find out what makes your heart tick. Come back to this quote a lot. When I was in my early 20s, I heard it. I read the book Wild at Heart by John Eldridge, and it's from that book, but I think it's a quote that he quoted someone else, but I forget who, where he says, don't ask yourself what the world needs, what makes you come alive? Because what the world needs is people that have come alive. And I think that's so true. When I was younger, I was so concerned with, like, I have to figure out where I can be of the most help. What do people need? And that's an okay thing to think. Like, it's good to be humble and it's good to want to help people. But ultimately, I think when we're talking about what is our kind of our big goal in life, and when we're trying to figure out who we are, whether it's in art or in life in general, I think you have to figure out what has God put inside of you? What makes you tick? Because once you find that, or maybe you won't even necessarily have an aha moment, but you even just see an inkling and you start to follow that trail. That's what's going to help you. That's what people are going to connect to. If you're true to, it's going to sound stupid, but if you're true to yourself, that's what people are going to connect to. And that's the thing too, is that we're so oversaturated with stuff out there on social media and on the internet that it's very overwhelming. And you're like, there's no even point of me doing this. It can be very easy to say that, but I think it's almost the opposite, really. We have these platforms now because there's so much saturation out there. If you show people your heart, if you show people that emotional connection, if you show people that pain that you feel, or that emotion that you feel, or that joy that you feel in your art, that's what's gonna sell, in a way, for lack of a better word. With social media and everything now, we have that opportunity to have so many different voices, and people from your niche will kind of find you.
Yeah, no, that definitely does. What's been inspiring you lately? Are there, you mentioned you really like movies, and you even characterize some of your paintings as just frames of a movie. Do you find yourself going to movies for inspiration, or is it music? Is it just world? Like, life inspires me, and I just paint as things come. But what's just related in the last couple months? Is there an artist? Is there a movie? Is there
I guess if I had to say anything these days, it would be more music-based. Music speaks to me a lot. It speaks to my heart a lot, to my soul. When I paint, I love to listen to Thomas Newman and artists like him. Thomas Newman does movie scores and whatnot. If you don't know, he's done some amazing work. I love his music. His music is to me, it's very, so kind of emotive, sad, but it just like, oh man, when I'm at the easel painting and his music is there, and it's just, oh my gosh, that's such a spiritual thing, such an emotional, spiritual thing for me. Lately, I would like to say it's been the past few months, but really I think it's been over a year now. I've been listening to Ben Rector a lot. A lot. Like some days that's all I listen to at work, basically. Yeah, I think he's pretty emotional too. And also I think it might even just be the fact that I think he's a little bit older than me or about my age, but like some of the songs are kind of going through the same thing. It's about love. It's about family. It's about having kids. It's about all these different things. So, but even though I'm not, unfortunately, at this exact moment in time, I'm not painting that much. I'm doing other things with my art. Still having that emotion dredged up. That's to me, kind of an artistic side of me that's still being worked on, so to speak. And yeah. Movies, I don't get to watch much movies these days, man. I have kids and it's hard to find time. But if you want a list of some movies that have been inspirational to me, at least in my early 20s and stuff like that, man. Dead Poets Society, The Shawshank Redemption, Good Will Hunting. Great. Forrest Gump. Forrest Gump is probably one of my favorite films. I don't know. It just touched me on a lot of levels there. Yeah. And so those movies were probably some of the ones where I was like, I want to do this. I want to inspire people. I've said it, it's probably a stupid quote, but I've said it before, how anyone can learn how to live, especially as people with mental illnesses and stuff. You can learn how to get through it, learn how to live, sometimes when you don't even want to get out of bed, but the arts is this like, those are the only things that really inspire us to live, though. Like, kind of show us snapshots of what life could be like, I think. And yeah, movies are amazing in that way. Movies, I think, are so great because they marry so many different art forms: visual art, performing art, music. So many different things come together to manipulate us.
What's your dream? What makes your heart come alive? And are you doing it right now? Or you're not? Like, all reality and time constraints and all those things aside, what do you want to do?
What would I do if I could do anything?
Yeah.
I would love to paint full time, or should I say work on my art full time, because that might look like paint. I think it would definitely, painting would be a big part of it. I would love to get to the easel more. But I think that also encompasses other things. I have other things in the back of my mind where I think like children's books, do more illustrative stuff. Podcasts blew up, especially during the pandemic. I started listening a few years back, mainly to Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend. I love that podcast. I love Conan. And yeah, I just love this medium for some reason. I love talking about the entertainment industry. I love talking about art. I've wanted to have a podcast for a while, or at least just try it. So I knew I had to have like a good idea. Like, I need something at least that I believe in, that I want to do. So I was like, well, let's not overthink this too much. It's kind of a common theme with me. And let's just talk about art. Like, I like talking about art stuff.
I think we connect with art because it's human, it's alive, and that's what we are.
Yeah. And so much of life is not. So much of life we have to, okay, go do your taxes. Okay, go do this and that at work.
Yeah.
But art is just, what can we think of? What can we, when we're at a relaxed state where we're just opening up our minds and our souls in a way, like what's there?
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah. And I think that's a beautiful thing. Artists are all about that. That's what we do, is making that human connection.
Well, it's been great talking with you. Thanks for sharing your art.
Yeah. Thank you for interviewing and for talking with me. SamBishopWorks.com is my website. You can see my art there. Or on Instagram, SamBishopWorks. Oh, for the Love of Art with Sam Bishop. Produced by Sam Bishop. Theme music and incidental music by Arc Music. To find out more, go to SamBishopWorks.com. If you like what you heard today, please like and subscribe and share us. Thank you for joining us.